Okay, welcome to another episode of Planting Seeds. I'm here with my good friend, Kimberly Parker. Kimberly, will you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I'm Kimberly Parker, and I'm the Executive Director at Central Outreach and Advocacy Center.
Nailed it.
We're
And you are a new mom to,
to a 6-month-old puppy. I've
yep.
never had a puppy. Never had a puppy before. Dogs have always been a little bit older, so this is an
Oh,
experience.
okay. And how's the house training going?
House training's good, but he's turning out to be a little biter, so we're trying to work on the biting part.
You told me that a little while ago, so he's still biting.
Still biting. It's better. It's not as bad, but he's a
Yeah.
mess. Just a
And,
mess.
and when you say biting, you mean like, fun, not like attacking you guys, like,
Yeah, just fun
nibbling,
biting.
fun,
Yeah,
wrestling. Yeah. Okay. I don't want
yeah.
to give people the wrong impression.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's all in love, but it needs to stop.
Exactly.
Well, and can you tell everybody what Central Outreach and Advocacy Center, the OAC, can you tell everybody what that organization does?
Sure. So we are a nonprofit located on the ground floor of Central Presbyterian Church in downtown Atlanta, directly across from the state capitol. We work with people experiencing homelessness. So we open doors to overcome and prevent homelessness. What brings people to our doors 99% of the time is somebody's looking for state identification. And once they arrive, then they find out that we do a lot of other services as well. We basically have three different programs. One is called Supportive Services, which is what the Georgia State ID falls under. But also under that are birth certificates, referrals, assistance to benefits that a person might need, mail check. People can use our address for to receive mail that they need, housing. So that all of those types of services fall under supportive services. And then we have the Mainframe Resource Lab, which is a job readiness lab. So working with people who are ready to start looking for employment. And then our third program is advocacy. So I always like to tell people that we sit right in the center of where decisions or laws are being made that directly or indirectly affect the people that we serve. So we have state government across one street, city government across another street, and Fulton government or county government behind us as well. So literally right in the middle of where decisions are being made that keep people in the situation they're in.
Yeah, and it's an amazing organization. I think 1/6 of my life I was on the board of that organization, right? I
Yeah,
think it was 8 years.
that's right. That's
I got to
right.
work with you for somewhere around 8 years, and
Yep.
it's a fantastic, unbelievable organization. I'm going to put a link to in the show notes here for people who want to get involved or hopefully donate. And you said people experiencing homelessness, and I can't
Mhm,
remember when I learned to say that instead of a homeless person. But
mhm.
do you remember, like, how long has it been since you and the OAC have used that language?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm thinking it has to be at least 10, if not a little bit more years ago. We were not
Mhm.
using that language when I first began 20 years ago. We were saying homeless, calling people homeless. So I would say probably 10, 12 years ago, we made that switch. It's just more dignified than homeless. It's something you're experiencing. It doesn't identify you, or it should not identify you. A person experiencing homelessness is a human being, just like you and I are, and deserve the respect and dignity that we receive. And so we need to honor them in that way and just not label them as a homeless person.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that you all and your team do so well is treat people with dignity and respect, and have empathy for their situations. So you mentioned 20 years, and that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because you just had your 20th year anniversary at the
I did.
OAC, which for someone to be at a nonprofit for 20 years is remarkable. And I would say, especially a very small nonprofit. You know, we're not talking about the community foundation or some, large organization. This is a small but mighty team of 4 or 5, maybe.
Right.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. 4 full-time, 2 part-time folks.
Yeah. So, and you've been executive director for how many years?
11. Yeah. 2013 is when I became. So 11 years ago. Yeah.
What was your first job? What did you first do when you joined the OAC?
Yeah. So I was hired as a part-time person, and I thought it would be very temporary. Just a tad history, so you kind of understand why I ended up there. I came to Atlanta to go to seminary. I felt a call to the church, thought that I would serve in the church. That's when I started seminary in 2001. That's what I thought I would do. I graduated in 2004, but while I was seeking a call to the church, I still needed to pay my bills and put food on the table and that sort of thing. And so my advisor from seminary called one day and he said, "Hey, I serve on the board of this organization called Central Outreach and Advocacy Center. They're in the basement of Central Presbyterian Church. There's a part-time position open. Do you have any interest in it?" And I said, "Absolutely. I need a job right now." So I went in and interviewed. A couple of days later, they called me back, offered me the position. I feel sure probably my advisor had put in a good word for me. And I had about this much experience in seminary working with people experiencing homelessness. I had done one summer where I got a little bit of experience, but I thought surely I can do this just for a little while, just till I get a call to a church. And that turned into, I don't know, about 6 months, 5 or 6 months. I got called in to an office and I was told, "Hey, we would love to make this position full time. Do you have any interest in working full time with us?" And I still didn't have a job. And so I said, "Sure, that'd be great." Again, thinking I would be there just a little while. And then really what I began after I became full time and got more involved, I would say within the year, I really did realize this is what I'm supposed to do. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be and do, and this is where God wants me. And so there you have it. I didn't think I would be here 20 years, but that's how I began.
Yeah. Well, it's an incredible start, and then you were tapped to be the executive director. I'm curious, what is it? I mean, you've been through, even just since I've been involved, some very tough times at the organization, as many do at nonprofits. What does it take to make it that long? I would say even just in the field. It doesn't even have to be at one nonprofit, but like working nonprofits is hard. And it's often, yeah, it can be very, very tough. You're not getting a lot of stock options. Let's just say it that way, right? So like, what do you think characteristics you need to have to be able to stick with it?
I think, well, I don't know, not thinking characteristics so much, but I'm thinking you got to surround yourself with good people and people who don't think exactly like you do. You've got to realize that you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to know everything, but you can surround yourself with people who do know what you don't know, and then you can complement each other. I think that's some of it. I think to last for a long time, you've also got to take time off. I really preach that to my team. We have fairly generous vacation, and I encourage them at the end of the year. You really should not be carrying over any of your vacation days to the next year. You need to take it, and when you take it, you need to be gone, and disconnected from the place, because the work is hard, and you've got to have a break from that. So those are a couple of things that come to my mind right off the bat.
Yeah, I think taking those breaks, you have to. It can be incredibly stressful. I wouldn't say I think you're good at that.
Yeah, I'm not great.
No, I think you're probably good at, counseling your team to do that. But I
Yeah.
was on you for years to take your sabbatical when I was the board chair. But I think those are good. I think those are good lessons. Um, you know, you're, I guess you've always struck me as a very confident and competent executive director. I don't know if you have always felt that way over the last, I would call, well, so I guess I joined the board. If I was there 8 years, we're talking, because I've been off for like 3 years now, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
yeah. So like 11 years ago, I don't know how you thought of yourself, but I always thought, you've got it under control. You've got it. I guess my question is, you know, did you, did you ever feel imposter syndrome? Did you feel like, I don't know what I'm doing and everybody knows it? I have a lot of, a lot of my friends that are leaders, but also a lot of female leaders, I
Yeah.
feel, struggle with this. You shouldn't, because you're just phenomenal at it, but do you still feel that way? Have you felt that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to, so I was program director, and our executive director at the time left, and the board at that moment asked me, "Can you just step in for us? It'll be an interim thing. We just need to get through this period, figure out who we want as the next leader." And so I said, "Sure, I can do that. I'm not going to know everything, but I can certainly do that. I want, this organization to continue." So I certainly, when I stepped into that role, I was petrified and didn't feel like I knew what I needed. I knew the history and I had been there for a good while. So I knew the story, I could tell the story, but I wasn't sure I had the skill set to be an executive director. So once again, thinking it would be something temporary, I think I was in that position, kind of the interim. I'm thinking for maybe around 9 months or so, maybe not quite that long. But what began to happen is I began to think, wow, I think I really would like to be the executive director. I think it was time for me to have a challenge, a new challenge. I don't believe I would still be at Central Outreach and Advocacy Center if that transition had not happened,
Mm.
because I was extremely burned out. I was doing direct service to our guests every single day, and it had taken a toll on me. So then I thought, well, this would be a good challenge. It would push me to grow. Um, and then I got scared. Oh, the board really might not choose me as the permanent ED, and then what am I going to do? I'm not sure I can go back to doing exactly what I was doing. So as it
It worked
worked
out.
out, yeah, it worked out. The board named me permanent ED. But, I went into it saying to them, these are things I do not know.
Mm.
I'm not going to try to tell you that my expertise is leading a business or looking at all the financial piece of it. So somebody's going to have to help me with that and help me to learn and to grow in those areas where I don't have the knowledge or experience. And the board was willing to take that chance and help me along the way.
Yeah. I hope you feel pretty darn confident today in your role.
I do, for the most part. I mean, certainly there are times when I wonder, I'm not sure I'm the best leader for this organization. But I haven't felt it was time to leave. And
Mhm.
I've said to people I'm close to, I think I probably have said it to you as well. If I haven't, I need to. And it's that if somebody else recognizes that it's time for me to go, and I'm not quite recognizing that, I want somebody close to me to tell me that and, to be honest with me about it.
Well, Kimberly, that's why I called you here today. This is an intervention. Everybody, come on, let's tell her. No, I hope you stay there for as long as you want to stay there. Since I joined until today, it's almost unrecognizable, the organization. So I think you've done an amazing job. One of the questions I have for you is around the fact that it is very difficult to raise money for an organization that helps people experiencing homelessness. And I'm curious, what do you think most people misunderstand about the guests you serve?
I think the stereotype is out there that people think people are choosing to be in this situation, that they are people who don't want to work, don't want to live by the rules of society, that they've chosen, a decent percentage of the folks we serve struggle with addiction. So I think it's a stereotype. Well, they're choosing to drink or to use drugs. And I just, it's important to educate people. That's not the case. I don't think people ever choose to be in that situation. Life hands them some difficult times. They don't have a support system to fall back on, whatever it may be, and they end up in a homeless situation. But they're people. They're human beings like you and I are.
Yeah, agreed. And just if you spend any time at the OAC and you get around some of these folks, you feel that. I mean, they're just struggling. They're just people who need a little bit of help, and God bless you guys for doing that. I have another question for you, more around maybe a young executive director out there that maybe is looking at their path forward. Maybe they're struggling. What advice might you have for the younger generation of executive directors?
I think one thing that I said just a little while ago too is about surround yourself with good people. I think that's really important. Work with your board chair to build a good, strong board, that wants to serve with you. Have a board that has different experience, different professional careers, so that you can lean on them when you have difficulties. Ask questions, meet with other executive directors. Oftentimes I'll come across a problem, and so I'll reach out to a fellow executive director and say, "Hey, are y'all dealing with this? Can you give me any advice? Can we talk through it?" I think that's extremely important to do. And then I think one last thing I might say, my board did this with me when I was named permanent ED, is they paid for me to have a coach for a little while and to work through some things with me that maybe were not my highest levels of experience or questions that I had. And that really was invaluable. I still am in touch with that coach today. And that's been, number of years ago. So I think that can be a really good, positive piece that somebody could do as well.
That's great. And I'll just say that there are some of the more, some of the most successful leaders in Atlanta that I know. Some of them have coaches, and you would think, gosh, you don't need one. You're at the top of the mountain. But I think a good coach is really important. You think that's ever going to be in your future, to maybe when you hang it up at the OAC, to coach or mentor nonprofit leaders or leaders in general?
I would be open to that, because people have done that for me, and it wasn't just one person. I mean, I'm going to say this on here. You've done that for me. Other board chairs have done that for me. And so, it could be a possibility.
I think you'd be great at that. All right. Well, let's kick a new business off when you're ready. And as I joked at your party, in another 20 years when you retire.
Yeah, so, right. Uh-huh.
We're gonna hit the 40-year mark, and then you're gonna be done. Well, Kimberly, I really wanted to have you on here to celebrate a bit of the fact that you put in 20 years at the OAC. I got connected to the organization, one, because I was married at Central Presbyterian. My wife's family's been there for generations. And I had asked the head pastor at the time, I said, hey, I'm really interested in getting more involved with people experiencing homelessness in the city. And I didn't know where to start. And he asked me, he's like, well, have you spoken to Kimberly? And I said, I really haven't. So we met, we chatted, it went well. And that led to me being a part of the organization, and it'll always be in my heart. It's one of the, it's always been one of my favorite, not just I love the board that when we were there, and I love the people that volunteer. I would always say, this isn't like the sexiest nonprofit board where it's like everybody's, networking with each other because it's, or it's high powered, this, that, and the other. These are just people who care about this mission and really try their best. And you all sit in a place within the ecosystem of people trying to help our citizens who are experiencing homelessness that is underappreciated. But without the OAC, they can't get an ID, for instance, to then get housing, or an ID to then even sometimes get it to a food pantry, right?
Right.
Or a birth certificate to do these things, or apply for a job. So I think I just always appreciated how hard you all work, and the fact that you've grown the organization to such a strong financial position. That's unbelievable, because that means people are going to be helped for a long, long time. So I want to thank you on behalf of everybody in the city for all the great work you do. I want to thank you for giving me the chance to be a part of that with you. And I loved being a part of that with you. Again, whether it's 20 years, 5 years, however long you want to stay, I know we're all going to be rooting for you to keep going as long as it makes sense for you.
Thanks. I really appreciate it, Jeff, and inviting me to do this today, and just appreciate that we still have a connection and even a friendship after that time together.
Yes, we need to get our next walk at the seminary on the books.
We do. I'll bring my puppy with me.
Oh, I can't wait. That would be great. That would be great. I'll teach him a thing or two about biting.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Kimberly. It was good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Bye.